So there's a lot to be excited about and look forward to with Assassin's Creed Mirage, and for many different reasons. But personally, one of the things that gives me hope for this game more than anything else is the team behind it, Ubisoft Bordeaux. Obviously, with any project, the team and people behind it are what's most important. Their level of passion and dedication is ultimately what's going to show through in the final product. But Ubisoft Bordeaux and their development of Mirage is very different from other Ubisoft studios and other games in the series. You see, most games in this series are developed by Ubisoft Montreal, which is typically split up into multiple teams. It's by far Ubisoft's biggest studio with over 4,000 employees. That's not even including all the support studios that chip in with these games as well. And recently, Ubisoft Quebec has also become a prominent studio in developing AC games. And the only other Ubisoft studio outside of Montreal and Quebec to develop a mainline Assassin's Creed title was Ubisoft Sofia with Assassin's Creed Rogue, where they were given only 8 months to do so, I might add. So Ubisoft Bordeaux is now only the 4th Ubisoft studio to head up development on an Assassin's Creed title. On top of this, they are a relatively new studio, at least for the industry, it's relatively new. They opened their doors in 2017 and have just over 400 employees, which is still quite a lot, but obviously nowhere near the insane amount as the heavy hitters at Montreal and Quebec. Now, typically some may think that Ubisoft Bordeaux being a newer studio is a bad thing for Mirage's development, and maybe if the circumstances were different, I'd agree, but in this case, I think it's just the opposite. I think Bordeaux's freshness works in Mirage's favor here. I think exactly what this series needed was a new team, a new cast of passionate people to come in and inject some new life and creativity into the series. It's their first full game, so while I'm sure there were some learning curves and adjustments to be made, they still had the support of the other experienced Ubisoft studios, and you can tell they have that excitement and care for their project, especially when you consider it's their first game. That's how this series began in the first place, a group of very passionate people taking a stab at something new and exciting. And while obviously Mirage isn't something completely new and inventive, I think having a new group of people bringing us this type of AC game is exactly what the series needs. I know some people might think, well, if the series is going back to its roots, shouldn't we have the people who worked on those original games develop it? But those people are long gone. Yeah, they checked out a while ago. So in this scenario, having a relatively new, excited team may be what's for the best. And you may wonder, well, MasterAssassin, how do you know they are so passionate about Mirage? Because this game was entirely their idea. I think a lot of people assumed that some Ubisoft higher-ups noticed a lot of fans wanted a return to roots, and so they forced Bordeaux to turn this DLC for Valhalla into its own game, but that's not it at all. Turning the DLC into a full game was all Bordeaux's idea. The team at Bordeaux noticed the opportunity to make a full game surrounding Basm, and since many developers on the team were huge fans of those old AC games and knew there was a demand for it, they themselves requested that they be allowed to turn that DLC into Mirage. It was their idea. So if not for Bordeaux, we wouldn't be getting a Return to Roots AC game at all. They wanted to and went out of their way to do this, and that's what sold me on the passion of this team. Now, of course, passion doesn't necessarily translate to a great game all the time, but it certainly gives me more faith in this team than I've had in any studio behind an Assassin's Creed game in a while. And knowing the developers themselves are huge fans of those old games is a big comfort to me. I think when people are working on something they really care about and love, like the fans do, they're going to put way more effort and care into it. Having fans of the actual source material working on said material is how you get some of these great passion projects. Let me hit you with a Star Wars analogy here. It's like Dave Filoni working on Star Wars. He's a genuine fan of the IP, which is why he's so good at understanding the kind of Star Wars fans want. Sorry, you know I have to throw the Star Wars analogy in there. But another thing I've been positively vocal about is how Bordeaux has gone about marketing Mirage and their transparency. Whether it's the dev diaries where we get more in-depth looks at the game and test footage, the Ask Me Anythings on various social media platforms, seeing the developers go out of their way to interact with the community and be transparent about the game allows me to put more faith and trust in these faces. When Jean-Luc Salah is saying he really wanted to get the lighting of Baghdad right because he grew up in a similar area and that was something personally important to him, I believe him. That's the kind of thing you want to hear from developers. They aren't just doing it because it's their job and they have to. They have genuine motivations and reasons of their own for making a good game, which you would hope is the case with every developer, but the reality is it isn't, especially in a larger corporation like Ubisoft. Obviously, I'm not saying just because Ubisoft Bordeaux is passionate, the game will automatically be good, but I have a lot of faith in this team so far, and what we've seen from them gives me hope that they can deliver a good game here. Because at the end of the day, the people behind the game are what's going to determine whether it's good or bad. Patrice Desilets and the passion of his original team on AC1 is what created this series on such a high note in the first place. So what do you guys think about Ubisoft Bordeaux? Do you have an ample amount of faith in this team? Because to me, a lot about them just feels different. It's a unique circumstance they've been put in, and I haven't been this intrigued by a team behind an AC game in a long time, if ever. But that's just my opinion, of course. As always, if you enjoyed the video, I'd appreciate it if you left a like and considered subscribing to the channel if you're new. And other than that, thanks for watching, and have a great rest of your day, Assassins.